Hello, we are Bourbon with the Bluegrass Babes, and we are here with Nick and Nick Squared, and they are with Leg Up Accounting. So thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for coming.
If you guys want to just tell us a little bit about your business and how this got started and etc.
Well, I mean, it's been an adventure, but we kind of developed this game plan even before we went to school to get our accounting degrees. So that was like part of the step in the direction. Is like we both had worked, we both wanted to, manifest our own destiny, essentially. So once we got old enough to realize, like, hey, this is something if we put some effort in and work at, we're going to try to do. So we went to school, went and got our bachelor's degrees in accounting, and then like the year after, it was right in COVID, February of 2020, we opened up and accounting, because essentially we think that freedom is not necessarily being on somebody else's time. So, a lot of people talk about like monetary gain here or there. It's like, well, we want to be in control of our time more than anything. And I've worked for small business my whole life. We come from Lexington, it's very small business oriented, Lexington surrounding areas. And COVID kind of just, really hurt the industry. And we thought that small businesses don't get the needed accounting and financial advice, because if they had strong financials, they could have withstood. But most of them don't. Most of them are doing their books in-house. Most of them aren't paying CPAs to do the work, because CPAs are expensive. So we thought there was an area there that we could target, because I want to help other people manifest their own destiny. So essentially that's like how this whole thing got rolling. And then we're going to come up on 2 years pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty soon on 2 years. Yeah, pretty much what he said. I mean, growing up, I, like I said, went to a pretty big high school, had a lot of buddies, and I always kind of prided myself on having buddies from all different groups. Didn't matter what group you hung out with, if you could have a good conversation and I enjoyed your company, I'd hang out with you. And in that, I got to meet a lot of people's parents and got to see like a lot of people's home. I was the type of kid, I was never home. I was at somebody else's house, like, hey, I'll see you next week half the time. I mean, my parents wouldn't see me for 3, 4, 5 days at a time. I spent weeknights, it didn't matter. I was spending the night at buddy's house. And it just, you observe when you're younger without really knowing it, and then you realize when you get older, like, oh, that's what I learned. I learned that my buddy's parents, who controlled their time and had freedom at the time, whether it was owning their own business or being successful enough at what they did at their as an employee, they were still able to have a lot of free time, and those households were always just a lot happier than the ones that were stressing over. And like I said, you hear people say a lot like, oh, money is like the biggest stress, and it's like, well, it's a big money, but it's more, a lot of times I'd see always, parents fighting over, I thought you were supposed to have this day off so we could go do this, and now you're telling me that you have to work. And it's just, I never saw that with, my buddy's parents who ran their own businesses or owned their own businesses. So that kind of planted a seed pretty early on that, like, hey, I want to do something different. I want to work for myself, and I want to help people who also want to work for themselves. Because when you go to school, they make it sound like really daunting, like only really special people get to start businesses and work for themselves. And that's true if you're going to do everything yourself, but you don't have to do everything yourself. So you don't need to, know everything to start a business. There's people like us and other really good accountants out there who, like I say all the time, is I see people do things backwards a lot. It's, hey, I started a business, I went 9 months, and now I've got myself in some trouble, and then you go try to find an accountant. It's like, I would be talking to an accountant long before I ever filed any sort of paperwork to form an S Corp or an LLC. I would, talk to an accountant first. So, good message to any small business owners. If you don't have an accountant, at least get a relationship with one, because, it's not like a convenience store. Hey, I need something, I'm just going to go get it. These accountants have clients. They may not be taking on new clients at the time. So if you get into an issue and you get into a problem, you might be looking at 2, 3, 4 weeks of just trying to find somebody who can help you out. So my advice would be, like we do retainers, you can pay $75 a month, and that gets you, if you need it, an hour, 2 hours of consultation. If we do end up doing accounting work for you, we'll give you a break because you're, somebody who's on retainer. We'll cut you a little discount on the services, but just like get a relationship with an accountant so that if something does go bad, you've got somebody you can pick up the phone, call them,
support.
Immediately and get help.
And that's so important, especially with a small business. So just for those who are curious, such as myself, like what exactly do you do? So someone walks into your office and like, what are some of the services that you provide for small business?
Yeah, so, starting from the very beginning, business formation, not only doing the paperwork and actually getting it done, but, sitting down with the client and helping them understand, hey, you should be an S Corp, or hey, you should be an LLC, you should be a sole proprietor, whatever it is. Mainly for taxes, tax advantages. Hey, you need to be this to get the most out of your, tax breaks. And really, like we like to say, pretty much anything a CPA can do, we can do as well. Both of us are currently working on EAs so that we can be enrolled agents, so we can actually represent our clients before the IRS. Currently, right now, if we have a client who does have like a tax situation in terms of, court or anything like that, we have to send them to like a tax lawyer. We can't actually represent them yet, but we're trying to get there. But, basically anything that a CPA does, what we've found since we started working is we're actually doing a lot more like business consulting than necessarily bookkeeping and accounting. There's a lot of, and that's actually what we really like to do, and I think where a lot of our value can come from. I mean, yeah, we can do your bookkeeping and keep you compliant. And that's great. You need to be compliant. You don't want the IRS. You don't want the state coming after you. You want to have that peace of mind. But, we like to really come in and try to help you develop systems and processes that can make you more efficient, that can free up some of your time so that you can go make more money or have more free time and just be happier. That's really where we think like the value of an accountant is. I see a lot of accountants out there who it's give me what you got and I'll get you some numbers. Leave me alone. And that's kind of it. We want the business owner to learn so that they can be a better business owner. We want to sit down with them and go over financials and that sort of thing.
And I think it's interesting because you had brought up, COVID was a big thing on small businesses and stuff. And it obviously had a huge impact on and took out a lot of small businesses. But I think it also, in a weird way, created a lot of small businesses.
Absolutely.
It did.
People started entrepreneurship after that.
I think between that, the internet age nowadays, things are going digital anyways, remote work.
People want to be their own boss.
People want to be their own boss. You saw a lot of things, and you could see trends in the society where people were going back, collectibles went up. People were starting to look more into their passions because, they lost a job or they were working remotely. So they had this home time to really almost look within themselves and explore, okay, what do I really like what I want to do? Because it let everybody know that you can work for whomever, any corporation, any business. But again, how they're structured, how they're set up, how things go, tomorrow you could be done. You're basically dependent on. I use Enron as an example. Corporate people make a mistake up top. You're solid, benefits, good job, good paying.
You've done everything
You've done everything right, but you don't know what the board's doing. And then tomorrow you realize that, they were...
Your whole sector's done.
Whole sector's done because they were doing a bunch of illegal stuff. So I think people also started seeing that, hey,
they wanted to be
your soul stability when you're going into the workforce. I currently still work in corporate America because I work 40 hours a week because we're trying to grow our own thing. And I think the stability and happiness is it's good, and everybody's situation is different, but I do think people had started looking inward to their passions. So it has butted a lot of the side hustle side.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like even just the different generations, just going back to my parents, they were at the same job their whole career
forever,
basically.
yeah.
And that's not our generation. I was talking with my mama the other day, and I'm pretty sure I've had 10 jobs within my 10 years of working in the workforce. And to her, that was insane. But to me, I was but I moved to a better position with every job.
Every job, right.
And here, sorry, Mom, but just looking at her pay scale, you can tell by her pay scale that she has been at this.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very
you get your
minimal.
annual 3% every year.
Yeah, but she could easily go to another company.
She has security. security, though.
Yes,
She's got
that's her
security.
big thing.
That's my
Yeah.
mom's
She
the
said she
same
has
way.
seniority.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that mean, though?
I kind of call that like the Great Depression era attitude, which is like, hey, you get a job that provides you benefits. That's your security. You take all the money that you can and you put it into savings and create your nest and that's
I
That's-
literally like hear my mom's voice.
Yeah,
That's
how I was taught.
That's how it was
100%.
until like our generation. That's what you did. It wasn't how much money you made or anything. Like the flex was, oh, I've been at this company for 40 years.
Well, now you have
know?
access to, like he was talking about with the internet, like now, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you had to go out on foot and develop relationships with business owners if you wanted to learn how to own a business and be a business owner.
Yeah.
Now you can flip on YouTube
library.
and you can find 35, 40,000
Yes.
different small business owners who will gladly tell you, no, I love doing it. I mean,
Yep.
we just recently purchased a dog grooming place. I'm not grooming any dogs, silent owner. I'll be doing the books back here. It's a
Yeah.
profitable business. And so we decided, the lady, she was in a little bit of trouble. We could get it for a good price. So we purchased this dog grooming place. But, I get on YouTube sometimes. I mean, earlier today I watched like a half hour of like just how to run a power washing business, and I was like, oh, that was interesting. And so now people have access and they can see, oh, this guy's got a bit. He seems like a normal guy. He doesn't, there's
Yeah,
nothing
there's
special
not
about him.
something
He doesn't have
special.
17 degrees or anything. He just, the big thing is again, you don't know what you don't know, so don't be afraid to pay for help, whether it's from, and I use the example all the time, if my car breaks, I don't try to fix it myself. That would be a disaster. I don't know why people, when it comes to their business, don't think about accounting quite that same
did tell
way,
you, I
like
hope
as
you
an
fix your
emergency. But, so it's people have the opportunity to go out and do it now.
Yeah.
And, I think they're seeing that. And so,
But I just want to highlight on something you just said that like if you need help, get it.
Get it.
Yeah.
So like
Yes,
there is
absolutely.
so much value in asking for help from someone who knows what they're doing. I'm not an accountant. I wouldn't even know where to start.
No.
Yeah,
And I'm not
let's
ignorant
look at
enough
the
to
tax
think
code.
that I can do it myself. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, but I feel like definitely like seek out help.
I was rather surprised when we got out.
It's more readily
Oh,
understood
it's-
than
what
I
was
think.
going actually
It's-
on. Like, I mean,
it's-
I thought for sure,
it's
I'm not going to,
concerning.
name any names, but like, I had certain clients that didn't know they were supposed to charge sales tax. And it's just like,
Yeah,
oh, wow,
it's-
okay.
you
It's
can
like,
get-
we're down here. We're a lot lower than I
starting
thought
from
on the
point
run.
A.
We got a lot more. Okay, I was like, all right. I was like, you
know-
literally don't know anything when it comes to doing this stuff. So, and that's scary because people, they just, and also a big thing is when it comes to a lot of the small business owners that I meet or potential ones is you just got to ask yourself if you want to be, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'll be a small business owner, I'll get everything set up and I'll work 20 hours a week and just collect money. And it's like, no, you're the last one that gets paid.
Yes.
You're responsible for everything.
Yes.
The bills, the insurance, I mean, anything you can think of, you're responsible. So it's a big dedication. I have conversations with a lot of people, and after I get done talking to them, I go, well, you just described being an employee. Go
Yes.
get a job. Like,
My like favorite memes are the ones where it's like I quit my 9 to 5 so I could work
24/7.
24/7.
Yeah.
Because it is. I mean,
No,
you
that's
know,
yeah, 100%
It's a,
right.
I guess it's a little different when you can follow a passion.
right.
So like,
It
does
is.
work really look like work? And then it's like, so again, a lot of it boils down to like, I guess your own goals anyways.
Right.
And how to utilize your free time that you do have.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people choose to go the small business route for outside factors such as being able to work from home, being able
Yeah.
to take care of your kids during the day, like
Yeah, like I
not
said,
having to pay for
freedom of time is to me is the
childcare.
big
Right.
one.
Childcare
Just
is
as expensive
so
as
expensive.
having like a full-time job, And I definitely, I think, caters to, because some people love the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
that's some people's cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
Don't.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like I
Do
said, be
it.
committed if you're going to do it, because the ramifications of you not being committed can follow you
Could be
around
way
for
worse
a
than
really,
having
really long
that.
time.
Yeah.
America is really good at giving second chances, but
Oh,
it's not
they're
that
really
good.
good at getting what they are owed. as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's why
They will
it's
get
so
what they need.
it's so funny in our industry because basically we're trying to sell peace of mind and compliance because, I mean, the tax code. Well, most people don't know the tax, but it's a massive thing that has all these intricacies, ins and outs. Every state's different, every city's different, every county's different. Like as a business owner who's trying to say, use your skill that you have that translates into income, and then trying to do that stuff on the back end.
Yeah.
It's you're going to miss so much to where not only are you going to miss deductions, which is going to take money out of your pocket, not only are you going to possibly not be compliant, and if you owe the government money, the government gets the money.
They're gonna get
Absolutely.
it. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
they're
the one.
gonna get it.
That's
one
the
thing I
one
can
person
promise.
you don't want to like mess with.
Yeah.
You know,
I
It's,
can almost guarantee that if whatever you pay an accountant,
You're gonna get it back.
your bottom
gonna get
line,
it
your
back,
bottom
yeah.
line will improve by much more than that, 99% of the time. You know, the biggest one that we see all the time is just trying to get people to understand that like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
No.
You're not a tax accountant,
Right.
so you're leaving money on the table if you don't have an accountant, somebody who can go in and say, hey, listen, if you just change your structure a little bit, there's $10,000 that
Yeah.
we just saved on taxes, and they go like, oh,
And that's huge.
Yeah,
and
it's huge.
So, and I also work in compliance, but outside of tax, I don't deal with money, totally different kind of compliance. But there's so much out there that like the average person doesn't know. Like I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even
No.
know where to begin with tax compliance. And so I do think that it's so important to reach out to people that you know.
it's also ever evolving. It
right,
changes
exactly.
every
Yes, it
year.
changes.
Tax code's
And-
going to change every
Yeah.
year.
Now, going off that, just like out of curiosity, is there a particular industry, or I know you said you guys really cater to small businesses. Is there a particular industry that you feel more comfortable in, or one that you are trying to target more than others?
Well, if you want to boil down to comfortability, I'm probably more in the service and trade industry.
Okay.
So like
past experience
that's
in the service
where
industry.
my past experience comes into play because I helped run and manage a restaurant equipment repair and commercial HVAC company for about 8 years.
Wow.
So the service industry I am very familiar with because in a small business, when you're an employee, you wear multiple hats, right? So I wasn't just doing the accounting. I was doing the customer service. I was doing sales. I was doing parts order. I can tell you more about restaurant equipment. I sound like a technician when I talk about it because I can tell you about the guts on the inside and what goes here and there because, I had to do all that stuff. So I got to see that from the inside and how we operated the service side. So how we did things good, what we could have improved on. So that will fit like landscape. I mean, service is probably actually the biggest group of small businesses. If you think about it, because technically dog
Yeah.
groomers are services,
Yeah,
anything that's a
landscaping
service.
service, hair care service,
We,
all that.
We do have a few clients who are in retail, but that's probably our least experienced, category would be like retail, inventories, that sort of thing. We have a couple clients that we work with, but for the most part, so far, it's been a lot of service industry people.
Yeah. And I love that you all, have said that you are really catering to small businesses for all the, all the reasons that you had talked about. And I love that,
Yeah, to us, what we saw really was that small businesses had kind of three options, and none of them were good. One of the options,
Fair.
one of the options was get a CPA. Well, small businesses don't have $250 an hour to pay a CPA to do all the stuff that really needs to be done. So that one's tough. The other option is you can go out and get one of these like $15 an hour bookkeepers. Somebody who took a 20-day bookkeeping course and is trying to pass themselves off as an accountant. Maybe they can help you with some of the compliance. They can kind of keep your books in order, but they're not really giving you any real
Really
value.
glorified record keeping.
Yeah, they're glorified
Yeah.
record keepers. And then, the other option is hire an employee, which is, at minimum $40,000, $50,000
yeah.
with benefits and
Oh,
everything
yeah.
else. So we kind of came in and said, hey, we can, I hate to use the term, but like lowball CPAs to some degree, which is okay because listen, CPAs don't
We
want to do
talk to 'em.
bookkeeping. Yeah, most of them are like, hey, I want complex tax situations. I want to make my money January through April, and then
And then
May
you're
through
done.
December, I'm trying
It's
to chill and just
coasting.
have a
Yeah.
few big clients that I do work for, but that's it. So, we're not saying anything that should insult any CPAs, but we just thought, hey, we can come in and help with the bookkeeping. We can help with the record keeping while also providing some business coaching and some business consultation for a rate that is much more affordable for, of course, small businesses in the U.S. I think it's 500 employees or less. I'm talking more like 20 employees or less,
Yeah.
30. I mean, if you got 500 employees, you can call yourself a small business, but that's pretty big.
You're
You
pretty-
probably
yeah,
got
I
a
would agree.
controller, staff
Yeah.
accountants, because you're
You have
structured the
budget
way to have the
typically
budget
for
to
that
hire those
employee.
people.
Yeah.
But like we talk about all the time, small businesses need to, the one thing we see is we tell them all the time is you need to think like big business. How can a business that's worth $2-3 billion. Well, their systems, they're doing things like this, and that's because they have systems in place and processes in place that make them efficient to where you can take somebody out, plug somebody else in, and you don't skip a beat. That's where small businesses struggle the most, in my opinion.
Well,
is
and
they
because of
don't
what you
think
just
big.
said, and you have one person that's wearing all the
All the
hats.
hats. Right. Yeah.
And so you're
gonna fall short
a jack of
somewhere.
all trades, but not but a master of none. And so that also kind of falls into that. So what kind of, especially since you all are catering to small businesses, like what kind of legacy do you want to leave with Leg Up Accounting and yourselves?
Like he said earlier, really just helping people manifest their own destiny. I think helping small business owners be successful in terms of their happiness. I think, obviously everyone wants to leave the world and say, hey, I left it a better place or a happier place than where I found it. And our way of doing that is taking stress and angst off of small business owners so they can live a happier life.
Or helping people realize that they can manifest their own destiny. So if I talk to somebody in casual conversation, they say they're passionate about something, I can be like, well, I can help you monetize that. And then we can help you grow that. And then you can eventually maybe do that for a living. What would you think about that? Now, granted, it takes work. Now, the one thing is, it's glorified as you see these people and you look at them in success stories. You're like, oh, look at all this stuff they did. I'm going to tell you that they worked night and day to get to that point.
It wasn't the 20 hours a week.
You're working
80,
90 hours a week to get it done. And again, it's like when you're passionate about something, it doesn't always feel like work. And so that's kind of the bridge that we're trying to find.
Well, society also, especially today, there's a lot of good stuff going on today, a lot of good stuff with the Gen Zers and their ideas and stuff, but there does seem to be a slight attitude of like, well, I don't want to work as much. And it's like, hey, that's fine if that's for you, but society is always kind of tell us, oh, you have to have this good work-life balance, and it's like, look, if you like to work, go work.
Have at it.
Yeah, have at it. Go work. You're going to be ahead of the game if you do that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's pretty powerful for you to say, hey, what are you passionate about? Like, how do we monetize it? Like that like gave me cold chills. Like I love that. I love that attitude because I mean, it is true. If you're working 80, 90 hours a week, but you're doing what you love, like it doesn't feel like you're working.
Well, why do all these billionaires? Why do they still work? Right.
When they're 70, 80, it's because that's what they like to do. It's
mean,
almost like a game to
like.
them now because they've got the money. It's like, but at the same time, it's like that's just kind of that's what I'm passionate about is I like looking at problems or ideas. Like we think we're idea people as much as we are accountants. So it's like that's what we want to step in and help with.
Right.
So like bookkeeping and record keeping we can do. I mean, we do taxes as well. I mean, obviously that could be bread and butter, payroll services, coaching, consulting. We basically want to be there for small businesses on like a business front. If I can't help you with something, I probably know somebody that can.
We can point you in the direction.
Yeah, I can point you in the direction to make it happen. Because if you read any book about business success, if you read anything people say, it's the team you surround yourself with.
Oh, 100%.
Just why networking.
Like I brought up earlier. It's definitely who you surround yourself with too.
Because those are the people who are going to help you succeed, and you're also going to help them succeed. So essentially, by a group or a community you create, you lift each other up. Which is where it's like you go find an accountant that's going to help you save money on your bottom line and help you plan for future action. So hey, if I buy this piece of machinery in November, it's going to save me money on taxes. I'm going to reinvest it in the business. It's actually going to give me like an ROI, return on this investment by this much. So it's going to help me grow and it's going to save me money. It's like that's what we're here for. I'm not just here to like keep records. I'm here to help you get a return on your investment.
And you can tell pretty quick when you talk to a business owner which ones are really good and going to be really successful and which ones aren't. Because when he starts talking like that, some of them will just go, I don't care about any of that. I just want you do it. And then you go, okay, like that's fine. Like,
I can
I'll
do that.
help you out. I'll keep you compliant, but like you're not going to be
not
the
what my
ones
passion.
that to go, oh, wait, you're telling me that you can,
The light bulb doesn't go off.
a little bit more work can make me, or, it might be more work now.
Up
You might have
front.
to spend more money now to save
Save
more
it in the
money
future.
later. That's the hardest one. You'd be surprised, you would think if I asked 10
That's the
people,
hardest one.
hey, you can pay, $300 now and it'll save you $1,000 in 6 months. You would think 10 out of 10 people would be like, here's $300, but no,
No.
it's not the case. And so a lot of what we do is, to some degree, trying to almost rewire some of these business owners' brains and say like, hey, like I think you're thinking about this all wrong. You know, something that helped me out a lot with our businesses is I like to think of, okay, what are the things that I can do that will destroy my business, that will make my business go away tomorrow? Do the opposite. There's your competitive advantage over people. You know.
Love that.
I know. You had
Got a
an
little
intruder.
mat flying around.
Yeah,
He's
I saw it, like,
luckily
land
he's
right
staying
on your
over
lap.
there. He hasn't come over here too much.
So this is kind of, I feel like, probably one of the deepest questions we have for people. If you had one piece of wisdom that you would pass on to your younger self, what would that be?
You want me to go first?
Either or.
So
Nick or
definitely,
Nick.
definitely,
Nick or
so
Nick,
so
whoever.
definitely something that I
Nick,
learned
you
was
take
just
this one.
like always act like, or not act like, but assume that you're the dumbest person in the room. Basically, it just means listen more.
Yeah.
So, and that's tough. Like I had trouble with this coming out of school because when you're in school, it's all about proving how smart you are. Raise your hand, participate in class, you know, try to get higher test grades. It's literally competition. I can get money if I do better than everybody else to go to school. So it's all this. And then you translate that into the real world and you realize that you don't learn a whole lot because you're just talking the whole entire time. And then, and it only takes once or twice for you to kind of feel embarrassed and, you know, kind of change your ways is you realize, oh, the guy I was talking to is way more successful than me, is way above me in life. I look like a fool sitting here talking to this guy, you know, trying to talk myself up. And so I try to, you know, go into a conversation, let that person talk, listen to them more, because at the end of the day, I learned something. That person goes home feeling good about themselves. Like, oh, look at me, I'm so smart. Like, did you hear how much, you know, that was, but later they'll figure out like, oh, I didn't gain anything. You know, I learned who they were, where they were at in their career, if there's anything interesting going on in their life or their career that's worth me following up on. And all they've got is a little endorphin high from talking about themselves for a little bit. So that would be, you know, the big one I could have learned. It would have been nice to know that at 23, 24 instead of 27, 28.
Yes, hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight's always 2020. For me, I'm gonna have to say it probably is rooted in kind of like a couple things. First off is don't let fear be an inhibitor, but let it be a motivator.
It's a big one.
I think when I was younger, you know, a lot of things I did was predicated on too scared to take the risk, too scared to take the, you know, the leap. And I think that actually is probably detrimental to just personal growth as well as career growth.
Which really kind of go hand in hand.
Which go hand in hand, because and you know, I live on the thing is like I don't ever close the door on an opportunity before it presents itself. Like you never know. Like every day is a chance for a new opportunity. But you have to be willing to take the calculated risks to get to where you want to go. You know, if you want to be fulfilled and happy, I do think that it requires taking risk. I think regret is probably one of the most expensive things that we carry with us throughout our whole life. And, you know, I did stuff when I was younger that was regretful, and I refuse to ever do that again. So if I have an opportunity to do something and take a calculated risk, I'm going to do it. If I fail, I'm going to learn at worst case. And probably the second thing is you just got to realize everybody's going to judge you no matter what you do.
Very true.
So you can try, I used to be a people pleaser. I wanted to be liked by everybody. And, you know, mindset has shifted 180. So now I'm going to be who I am. If you like me, good. You know, I like people, I like relationships. If you don't, there's 9 billion people.
Well, I think it helps a lot too, if you can, find a partner to go into business with. I hear him kind of talking about being a people pleaser. I was the opposite. I've never been a people pleaser. I've always been on the opposite end of the scale. I've been told before that maybe you're a little blunt sometimes, maybe a little straightforward. And so it works well because I think through working with me, he's learned not to be such a people pleaser, and I've learned how to maybe soften a little bit of the edges sometimes. Like, hey, sometimes people, you know, different people take things differently. So
Just reading a situation.
Find a good partner, you know, kind of a
Balance.
yin and yang type of, you know, balance. I think that'll help. A lot of people, again, that we work with right now currently, I'd say maybe like 20% of our clients are partnerships and maybe 80% are like sole proprietors or, you know, S-corps with one owner kind of doing everything. And I think with a lot of those owners, it's like, hey, if you had somebody in here who could kind of make up for some of your deficiencies, it would go a long way.
Right. Well, I mean, it kind of goes off, what you said of almost, being a bit of a listener, and really not having enough of an ego where you don't think that you know everything.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I still think I know everything. I still talk way too much, but at least now, you're aware of it and you can say like, hey.
See, I'm more like the other Nick. I'm a recovering people pleaser. We meet on Tuesdays at 6 if you'd like to.
Oh, there's meetings? 12 steps?
All 12.
Yeah, all 12.
But it's a hard cycle to get out of. But once you realize that you can't dig yourself out of that hole,
Everything is taught. You're taught to be, I hate to knock him, but one of the people I can't stand is the Dave Ramsey, because it's just so risk adverse. Everything's risk adverse, and all debt is bad. That's not true.
You can leverage
There's such
that.
things as bad debt, and there's such things as good debt. Good debt can, make you some money, and you can live off of it. That's what the really wealthy people do for the most part. It's how they avoid paying taxes. But they don't tell you any of this in school. It's amazing to me that like I said, in a country that's got 30+ million small business owners, we don't teach anybody.
I could go on a tangent for hours about all the things that I
education.
did learn.
Yeah.
I know the Pythagorean theorem, but I don't know how to do my taxes.
And it's funny because we're talking about small businesses. I paid for 3 degrees from UK, business, economics, and the last words I said to my professor was, I spent 5 years here and nobody taught me how to run a business.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were lucky to have a couple of really good teachers, not all of them,
Love
but
you,
there
UK,
was a
I'm
couple who we had a couple really good teachers who understood, like, hey, what's important is you translating this into the real world. And so they would try to teach from that perspective. And to some degree, that's kind of what we do with a lot of our clients. It's a lot of like sitting down and talking, and almost I find myself using the, kind of tools and ways that those teachers and those professors did with us, and kind of explain to people, hey, here's a real world, here's a textbook question, but like here's a real world scenario.
Example where you can use it. Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal, and obviously, like I said, we go on for days about what's wrong with
public
education.
The practical experience of being in the small business world since I started working when I was 16, and I've always had 2 or 3 jobs, and I worked under a CPA for 10 years as well. Is what taught me what I think was good, and now I'm currently, consulting at Big Ass Fans, and now I'm seeing how they do their corporate side of things. And then, I could get sent on another consulting gig as my full-time job, learn how they do it. So you take little bits and pieces from everybody, and then you try to mold it. So it's the one thing about life is you can always, like when they say learn something new every day, it's not that hard.
No.
If you just pay attention.
Yeah, just listen, like he was saying. Absorb what you're around. I mean, there's plenty of times where I think I know what I should do, but I just like to go talk it out with somebody, because
sometimes you have to hear it.
You have to hear it. You have to say it out loud. And that's what it takes sometimes, though.
I'm bad about it. I mean, I've been caught on several occasions. I'll talk to myself. To get through an issue, I'll talk to myself, and, because again, I need to hear it out loud. Once you hear it out loud, sometimes you go, oh, that is kind of crazy.
It's a terrible joke, but people catch me at work talking to myself, and I always say, well, I have to have an intelligent conversation with somebody.
Gotta have at least one a day.
And they're like, oh, wow, there's that ego of yours. It's like, nah, I'm just, I'm a cut up, but, I like to be, serious as well, and know that you have to have fun while you're doing it.
Yes.
So that's where the cut up happens, and that's where it's like, I'm okay with being myself. There's some people who probably think I'm annoying and I drive them up a wall, and it's like, just avoid me.
Well, you being excited about your job, us being excited about doing good work for you gets the client excited. That stuff's contagious. Like you talk about Dale Carnegie. We took this Dale Carnegie class. It was terrible. I hated it. It was all about being animated and all, but it is true. It's contagious. The more that you can be animated, the more excitement you can put into your voice, it is contagious. People will
gravitate
towards it. So.
And the best part about the industry is actually the people, the clientele, working face to face and hand in hand with people.
You meet so many people.
Yeah, people are
many
fascinating.
Different backgrounds, and
they are
how people have made it there.
It's really great because one thing I have is I'm 10 years older than my little sister. She lives with me currently. She goes to UK, and I kind of tell her, her idea of people kind of comes from social media or some of the people she's met in college and what's portrayed. And I'm going, like, when you actually get out and meet people in the real world, they're way different than, like, your idea of what a person is. So that would be, advice to young people, don't believe everything on social media. Don't let
Be
that
yourself.
shape your worldview.
Be
you know.
yourself,
Have fun with
100%.
it. Enjoy it. You know,
You're
it is
going
what
to
it
get
is,
judged
but-
anyways.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk in a room, that's just human tendency.
Mm-hmm.
It's human nature. So you might as well be who you are because you're judged for it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm trying to put on a facade or whether I'm just okay with who
Talking
I
to
am.
yourself.
Yeah, talking to
Yeah.
myself.
Having your intelligent
Having my
conversation.
intelligent
I like the
conversations with
car. I'm a
myself.
car guy. I'm a big,
I'm
you
a
know,
car,
if you
yeah.
pull up next to me at a red light, you might look over and go, that guy's crazy.
Yeah, I'm definitely
He's
like
ranting
having an
really hard
argument
to
with
himself.
myself. I've
So,
been there.
I need to get one of the like Bluetooth things so I can at least pretend like I'm talking on the phone.
Just
like-
put in your AirPods.
Yeah,
you know?
just pretend like
Yeah,
oh, no, I'm
that's
talking to
all.
No,
somebody.
I do it over like I always have my phone on my vehicle, you know,
Oh,
Bluetooth
yeah.
or whatever. So even if there is somebody else there, they'll
It just
never
looks
know.
like, yeah, they never
That's
know.
true. That's
So
a good.
it's
that's a
fun.
good point. Well, you all have left us with some excellent nuggets. Definitely some good advice, and we really appreciate you guys coming on.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate you guys having us. I
Yeah.
mean, we're hoping it helps, and obviously stemming networks and relationships. We'd like to, you know.
And if anything, starting conversations. That's where it all starts.
I think at the end of the day, like kind of really to sum it all, but we're really trying to get business owners to understand and to do is to be proactive, not
Yeah.
reactive. The ones that are proactive, those are the ones that are really, really successful. The ones that are reactive, they're the ones who are barely keeping their head above water. They're waiting for problems to occur before they tackle them.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Accountants can be cool.
Accountants.
Thank you.
Not
that's
all of
that's
us
the
are,
nicest
yeah.
thing I've heard all day.
Yeah, not all of us are total introverts.
Probably
Yeah.
tomorrow too. So I gotta write that one down.
That one right.
Yeah, let that one ride out the weekend.
Well, thank
Love
you
it.
so
Well,
much
thank
for you
you
guys
guys.
coming on. We appreciate.
Appreciate you guys.
ya.